Hello, we're back again now, and we will learn how to put these letters now in words. So each letter has a shape, a different shape, depending on where it comes in the word. So it is at the beginning of the word. It's different from being in the middle of the word or being at the end of the word. So if we say beginning of the word, we say B, and we have the middle like this, and then the end like this, and we put it in one table. Alif at the beginning is Alif. There's no change in it. Now in the middle, it's like this. It has a little, let's say, a little hand that shakes with the letter before it, and at the end it's also like this. Ba at the beginning, it's the same letter Ba, but without completing the letter. We just put half of it like that, and the dot is below it. And this applies to Ta, and I will write it in dashes, and Tha. Ba, Ta, Tha are the same. As written are the same at the beginning, the middle, and the end. In the middle it's like this. We call it Sin. This is Sin. Sin is a tooth. It's like a tooth. It has a tooth. Sin here, if you look at Sin, it has teeth. So going back to Ba, then we will have Ta, something like this, and Tha is written like this in the middle. At the end, Ba is written like this. It's the same Ba we have, but it has a shaking hand before it. And also Ta is the same, and Tha is the same. This is Tha. Jim at the beginning is the same writing of the first part of it, the part that comes up above the line. Here's the line, and the part that comes above the line is the beginning of Jim. So this is Jim, and this applies to Ha and Kha also. Ha without any dots, Kha with the dot above it. Jim, Ha, Kha at the beginning of the word. Jim in the middle is something like this. Well, depending on the type of writing you're writing, I mean the type of calligraphy, if it was nasikh, it would look like that. If it was raq'a, it will look like this. This is Jim, and this is Ha, and this is Kha. Somehow similar to Ta, but it's not. We will look at it, the difference between them. So when you write a raq'a like this, it's going to be, suppose here's the shaking hand before the letter, it's going to be like this. Depending on the type of calligraphy you're writing. Anyhow, this is Ha, this is Kha, suppose we're writing in Raq'a, or this is Kha, and this is Ha. Going back to the end of the word, how it's going to be at the end of the word, it's the same as the letter itself, but with a shaking hand before it. So you will have Jim, and also applies to Ha and Kha. But just put the dots in order to differentiate between the letters. Here's how Jim and Ha and Kha written, and this is the shaking hand before it. Or it could be written like this. This is Jim, this is Ha, I'm sorry, this is Jim, this is Ha, and this is Kha. And of course this connects to the letter before it. Dal at the beginning of the word, it's the same as it is right now. This is Dal, this is Dal, the same. And also Ra and Zain are the same at the beginning of the word. Now if you write it in the middle, Dal is going to have a a shaking hand, but it's not similar to this sin here. It's different. No, this doesn't have an angle, it goes up. Or if it has an angle, it's going to be very slight, it inclines very slightly, but this inclines a lot. This is dal. And in thuluth, in thuluth calligraphy, you would notice that it's going to be like this. So this is dal, and this is, but not this size. Going back, this is dal in the middle. It shakes with the letter before it, but it doesn't shake with the letter after it. No. And we will notice that when we write examples. Okay, sorry. Let's continue. So we'll have at the end of the word, it's like the middle. Dal. Dal. What about ra? Ra in the middle of the word comes with a shaking hand. It could be written like this, and zain, the same idea, or could be written like this, depending. I'm sorry, this is not the writing of that. I just made an extension for the tail of it. This is ra, and this is zain. And also this applies to the end of the word, ra and zain, and a shaking hand. Okay, about sin. Sin at the beginning without the, it's written the same without the circle here. So you will have sin or sin with an extension. Sheen, the same idea, or sheen. In the middle, it's gonna be like sin or sheen, and continue the letter. Or, well, that depends on the type of writing. Sometimes when we put sin in the middle, it doesn't have anything but an extension in the word, and we'll see that in an example. And also sheen, but it has its rules when you write it like this. It cannot be right just an extension. You must have sometimes you must have a sin, a tooth, let's say, the same like this, before the sin letter or at the end of the letter that precedes it. That depends on the type of writing you're writing, but let's agree that we will write it like this. This is more obvious to be differentiated. The end of the word is like the same idea here, so we write it like sin, but it has a shaking hand here, and also sheen is the same idea. Or it might be like this at the end of the word, and it has a shaking hand with them, but depend on the type of writing that we're writing. Sad has the same rule. Sad, Dad, and also Ta, it shakes, and Dha shakes. It's this. Notice that it is the same as writing the letter itself, but we will connect it to the letter instead of just stop here. Sad in the middle of the word has a shaking hand, and then write it like this. And I gotta admit, it's one of the hardest letters to be written in Arabic language. It's not easy. Ta, Dha, not the same. And also at the end of the word, it applies the same rule that applied here. It applies to Sad and Dad and Ta and Dha. Ta and Dha are the similar, are like this, but they have an extension before them, so you write it like this, Ta and Dha, and you end the word with it like that. And Sad and Dad apply, the rule that applies to them is the same rule here. So we'll have an extension here, and then Sad, and the circle goes down, and also Dad, and the circle goes down, and this is the dot of Dad. Ain at the beginning of the word it takes the same rule that it took for the Jim and Ha and Kha somehow. So you write it like this, Ain, and in the middle it's written like this. We have the extension, and then we write it like this. Now this changes the shape of the letter. Ain, Ghain. Let's say Ghain it has the same rule. Ghain, or this is Ghain. At the end of the word, it's gonna be like this. This is Ain, and this is Ghain. Some calligraphy write it like this. Types of calligraphy. But it has rules to be written like this. Originally, or let's say more popular writing is this. Okay, what about Fa? Fa at the beginning of the word is like Ba and Ta, Tha. It has the same rules. Fa, and in the middle it's like this, and at the end it's like this. It's the same Fa, but it has a shaking hand before it. Qaf applies the same. Qaf or Qaf. Now here you can write it like this, or yeah, this is somehow common. Sorry for that. Okay, what about Kaf? Kaf is written like this at the beginning of the word. This changes somehow the shape. Kaf in the middle is like this. And also Kaf at the end, it's like this. Either you write the Hamza or you write it like this way. Same rule here. The rule of omitting Hamzas and dots. Lam at the beginning, like this. In the middle, like this, but it has an extension. It's not like the letters Ba and Ta and Tha. It has an extension to the somehow to the end of the upper side of the line, and also at the end it's like this. This should be extended a little bit more. Mim starts like this. This is Mim at the beginning of the word. Mim in the middle. Mim at the end. Might be like this. Or might be like this. Depending on the type of writing you're using. Noon. The same that applies to Ba and Ta and Tha. This is Noon in the middle. And this is Noon at the end. Ha starts like this, the beginning of the word. In the middle, it's like this. Or, notice here, we have a shaking hand before it, and then the line goes down with the inclining, and then goes up with somehow 90 degrees angle. And then we have another shaking hand after it, or it could be written like this. Let's see. I'm just trying to remember. That's another way of writing Ha. And also, oh no, that's it. At the end of the word, it's written like this. Shaking hand, going up, and then making that. What else? We have Waw. Waw at the beginning is the same Waw we have. In the middle, the shaking hand before it. At the end, the same idea. Ya at the beginning is like this. In the middle, like this. At the end, like this. Hamza. This Hamza comes at the end of the word, always, and it does not connect to any other letters. But if it comes in the middle, there are certain rules for the Hamza to be written in the middle. And we call it that the Hamza should be put on Nabira. Nabira, or a kursi. A kursi is a chair. So suppose Hamza cannot come alone, Hamza needs to be written on a chair. And the chairs used in Arabic language are the waw or the alif itself. So whenever you find alif like this and has a hamza above it, this is not alif. This is what we call alif mahmuza. Alif mahmuza means alif that has a hamza, and this is considered to be a hamza, not an alif, to be precise. So hamza has its own rules, and even nowadays Arabs tend to write it with wrong ways. Sometimes they do not write it correctly. And this is a common trap for the writers in Arabic. Anyway, maybe we can make a session on hamza, and I tend to make a different session for the hamza and a different rule after we know how to write and learn how to write words in Arabic. Lam alif comes at the beginning. At the beginning comes like this. Lam alif. In the middle comes like this, and then at the end comes like this. If you consider lam alif as a standalone letter, which is originally two letters, lam and alif. It's lam and alif, but they connected both letters and make it like this, lam alif. Okay, this ends how to write letters at the beginning and the middle and the end of the word. Now we will learn how to write words in Arabic language in the next session.